started.
Okay, this is my first video game in a while, my first Blitz game. This is 10 minutes with a 5-second increment, and my opponent played knight c3. Let's see, I'll just play a non-committal move here, knight c6. See what he does. Okay, so he's playing e4. Last time against e4, oh, I haven't played against e4 in these Blitz videos, so let's go. This is the Vienna. Huh. This is a very tricky transposition. I think he fooled me here. We'll see what he does. So e4, e5. This is the Vienna opening. And I'll just try and develop normally here. What is going on here? Yeah, normally my knight would be on f6 and I'd be putting pressure on this pawn. And his knight would be on f3 and he'd be putting pressure on my pawn. But none of that's happened. And in fact, he puts his knight there. So if he's not attacking my pawn, maybe I can attack his. The tactics in a position like this, you have to worry about bishop takes f7 here, but it doesn't look like that's on at the moment because the knight is blocking the path of the queen. So I'm just going to try knight f6 and see what we get. Okay, so we're going to get just a Juco piano, it looks like, by way of this unusual transposition. So anyway, yeah, I was about to say I haven't played in a while. I played a couple of Blitz games as warm-up, and I lost them both pretty badly. So I don't know how this is going to go. Let's see. Okay, so he stops me from bringing my knight to g4 there, or my bishop. I think I'll bring my knight around to the king side. This is one of those things you often do in these slow openings with the king's pawn in the blocked up center. You can bring your knight over here so you got more pressure. Now he hasn't castled kingside, so this might turn out to be a mistake. But with this knight out of the way, it was blocking these pawns over here. Now I can think about doing a slow build-up in the center. Now, do I want to worry about this pin? Can he bring more pressure on this pawn? On this knight, I mean. Not right away. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and just build up in the center. And we'll see what he does. King Sethos is my opponent, also from the USA. Okay, stopping to think now. That's good. I feel like I've got a pretty comfortable position on this opening, even though I had no idea what was going on for the first few moves there. Looks like I can get in the move d5 here, and that he might exchange off this knight and then try and win that pawn. So maybe I can't play d5 right away. Let's kick the bishop and see where it goes. Ooh, he wants to play a exciting piece sacrifice here. Okay, I'm going to take the piece sacrifice and see. I didn't see I was getting mated. I could be wrong. There's a pin on this pawn, so this knight is hanging. And where can it go? The king can't defend it. And yeah, maybe I should have thought of that before I moved, but what the heck. I could also just block the bishop. That would also protect the knight. Let's see, knight takes, pawn takes. Yeah, that's defended. Right. So I've got two defenders and he's got two attackers on it. So I think he has to retreat the bishop. I don't see another move for him. He does. Okay. Called that one right. So I need to chase the queen away from my king. Otherwise I'm going to get destroyed there. I could do it in a two-step process. But I first have to defend this pawn because the idea I had was to move my knight here and bring my queen to this square. So knight to h7 and queen to g5. But to do that would leave this pawn hanging and allow his pieces to come flooding in. And I have to keep his pieces away from my king. Otherwise, I might get in real trouble here. So I can chase the queen away, but I have to do it carefully. And he's gotten 2 pawns for his piece. I don't want to keep him from winning another pawn. Well, let's count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 2 pawns for the piece. I was confused for a second because I'm missing a pawn here and a here and here, and he's missing one. So that's all consistent. So let's see what he's got for his next trick. He wants to bring more pieces into the attack, but this pawn on e5 is keeping out his knight, although it could come in through g3 perhaps. And then this pawn is guarding a couple squares that his other knight might want to get into. And his bishop is just blocked out entirely. So I think he's going to have to work. He may have to push some pawns. That's probably a way to play it. Now I have this bishop over here I could try and activate. Okay, so he's going with the g-pawn. So yeah, my idea was knight h7 and queen g5 to chase the queen away from there. Still seems valid. He can play his pawn to there. It's a little bit confusing. Let's try this though anyway. If he blocks me out from g5, perhaps I can go to f6 and then g7 and chase the queen away that way. Right. So he goes immediately for that square. Now if I take the knight, this knight is still a little bit out of play. He can take with the knight, but I can still bring my queen to g5. It looks like queen takes, knight takes. So I think this is good. Okay, the obvious move he should be playing here, yeah, knight takes. So after knight takes f4, I was going to play queen to g5. He can take the bishop. I can take his queen, so he probably has to do something about that first. His queen has no way to escape, so I think this forces a queen trade and leaves me in pretty good shape. I might lose another pawn over here. That's unfortunate. Yeah, he's got 3 pieces ganging up on this pawn, and I just abandoned the defense of that pawn with my queen, and I only had 2 defenders on it anyway. So trade of queens, and he can pick up a pawn here. On the other hand, I won't get mated, and I have a lot of extra pieces. I have 1 extra piece, which I may be able to use. I may be able to use my extra piece and mop up his pawns. That's the way to do it. That's how you win these games after your opponent has sacked a piece and you're down pawns. You use your extra piece to win back the pawns. Okay, so he didn't take my pawn. Why don't I can simultaneously attack his knight and his bishop by pushing this pawn. You see that? When I push the pawn forward to d4, then my bishop is attacking his bishop, and my pawn is attacking his knight. Now he can escape with the intermezzo bishop takes, because this happens with check. So bishop takes, so a pawn push, bishop takes check, knight takes, then his knight has to move, probably somewhere attacking the pawn here or there. Here is kind of nice because it's a fork of, but that pawn is defended. I think this is worthwhile. It's a simplification that I believe works in my favor here. Also, he'll have to think for a little bit, so it's always good to make your opponent think.
Check.
He found it. Okay, didn't think that hard. And oh, he went to there, so he's attacking my bishop. And it's a good post for his knight. I can't complain about that. And now, where do I want my bishop to go? I could just support the bishop. He takes, and then I'm a knight up. Or I could move a rook, because the bishop is already supported. Why don't I go... Why don't I try to invade somehow? How do I put pressure on his position? There's an open file here, a half-open file, that maybe I can attack this pawn in front of his king. Let's get my other rook active. If he wants to trade more pieces, this is not a great bishop. You can see it's just holding up this one pawn here. I could put it to some use, I suppose. If he doesn't take it, yeah, he's going to not take. Okay. Let's see, if I exchange rooks, that's probably not to my advantage, so let's go here. If I take, then he gets to keep this file, whereas if I keep a rook on it, then we're still contesting this file here. I moved my king up, so I'm not subject to check from that knight. And the king needs to get active in the endgame anyway. We're getting to that point of the endgame where your king can play a role in it. So maybe one idea is to play pawn. He put a stop to that. One idea might have been to play my pawn to g4 and my knight to pawn to g5, knight to f4. Let's see. Okay, I could still put my knight on f4. That looks like a decent square for it. And my bishop is protected. So let's try that. It's a little bit tricky. Why don't I move the bishop out of take first? So where's a good square for the bishop? How about put the bishop here? I was starting to leave too many things hanging. It was getting a little tactically messy. So, like, for example, if I had moved my knight there while my bishop was there, you might trade, which would cause me to take back with this rook, and then this rook here would be, well, the knight would be sort of pinned, although the king is still defending that, so not really pinned. Okay, I think I want to take this. Let's see how he takes back. I'm going to use the pawn as shelter in a minute. Yeah. So I have this square over here I can move my king to, and he can't get to this file easily. Let's see. I could also put something on this square here. Let's put my king here first. I'm not getting checked. And I want to put pressure on that pawn, so yeah, he goes there. That's pretty natural, but I'm not going to let him go there. I think he was trying to get to this square here, the g6 square. So I opposed my rook. I didn't want him on that square. Now his knight is coming in to defend, okay, and then does it have aggressive ideas? It can come to this square. Yeah, that's a pretty good square. Checks, hits the king, the pawn, and the bishop. Okay, so what can I do about that? I can defend that square. And I shall. Let's see what other ideas he has. And my bishop here with check. And then I can get my bishop to that square. That's a much better square for my bishop, so it's a nice way to improve the bishop here with tempo. And his king has to stay in touch with the pawn on f7. Yeah, so I want to play that anyway. And then let's just block this file. And then maybe I'll come by and invade on the F file. Try and get another piece on this square. Can play the rook all the way up to c7, looks like. f7, f2. Play the rook up to f2 and double up on this pawn over here, the c2 pawn. You'll probably force him to exchange. And that would be good. That would be potentially chasing the knight away, and then I can maybe pick up this pawn over here, which is his biggest threat, is this outside pawn. Okay, goes back to there. Let's see. Ah, that guards the f2 square. But now I can play the rook to f5, hitting the pawn. And if he exchanges, it's protected by the knight. And let's see, this knight has no checks at the moment, so... Oh, he has a nice fork here. Okay, let's see if he picks that up. I guess if he tries to fork me, I can escape because I can take his rook with check. So, okay, that's a lucky escape. But you should really check things like that out before you move.
Check.
Yeah, that's annoying. Very annoying. Okay, so he's hitting this pawn. He is threatening to come here. But this pawn is hanging. So why don't I hit the rook? I hit the knight. Force it to
check.
Move. Okay, my rook is defended there, so even if he had a discovery with the knight, it wouldn't gain him any material. Now I want to get rid of this rook, I think, and that'll bring his knight to this square with check. That's okay. I'll have two pieces against one, and
check.
I think I should be able to win that. If he wants to take my bishop, he can have it. I mean, trade it. Oh, he doesn't. Okay. Well, I want to try and dominate that knight. One of these things you can do with the king, there's only 3 squares a knight can go to, and I'm covering 2 of them. So his knight can only go over here. So now let's get my other pieces active. And all the pieces are over here on the king side. Queen side. Everything's on the queen side here. Let's see. I want to just control some squares. So I'm going to move these pawns up kind of slowly here. And his king can come into that square. Okay. But he's abandoned his own pawns. So let's see, the knight over here will attack this pawn. She comes forward. And then, let's see, where can I go? How about to this square? Yeah, so his knight from there is fairly well trapped. No, I can't say that. He's got a couple squares he can go to. See, I can check the king and go after these pawns. Check, he goes here. I go there, he takes, I take, he takes, and he's got an extra pawn out of that. If I defend first. Boy, this is annoying. Okay, I'm just going to move the bishop away from the pawn and try and come in here and hold on to those pawns. Now he can check my king there. I'm just trying to work my king into the position here. So if he checks, I'm going to go forward. Oh, he went to that square. That's okay. Now, the bishop is on this diagonal, so I can attack the knight. That's true. Let's see. I take. He takes the knight. I take. He takes the pawn. And I don't have any advantage. I would like to win this one. Let's see. I have a knight here with check. You can take a pawn, then I can grab these pawns here, I guess.
Check.
Oh, I went that way. Okay. This is just winning for me, so that was a mistake on his part to simplify like this. I can gobble up these pawns here. He won't really be able to defend them. He just runs out of moves. This is a classic case of Zugzwang. He has to move the pawn or the king. If he moves the king, I'll take his pawn. If he moves the pawn, I'll just move my king sideways, and then I'll have to move his king. Unless it's stalemate. In which case, I would be the one who's sorry. Let's see. So where can he go? He can go to this square. Right? Yeah, that square is available. Okay. That's one of the ways to win when you have an extra piece is you have more moves than your opponent. You can move that piece
White
around to generate
resigns.
extra moves. Yeah, so that's the end of the game. Okay, hope you enjoyed that, and I'll post a follow-up video with some opening analysis and some Houdini. I'll look over the tactics with Houdini and show you guys where all our blunders were. Hope you enjoy that. Bye.